And we're back for episode 2 of our unnamed podcast. Before we get into it, I have to read a statement. Last episode, a few things were made unclear. Riverton Chevrolet, our business, is the best dealership and most wonderful dealership that anyone could ever work at. I am saying this and of my own volition. I am not being coerced or threatened in any way to say this message. My family is perfectly safe. I am very happy. And I really, really regret in any way if I conveyed any thought that I might have not liked it here. I do. I just want that to be known. In all seriousness, getting some feedback from the last episode from quite a bit of people, I didn't make it very clear. This shop, our shop, is great. The people are great. The owners are great. The high management positions are great. There's just a little things that can make it greater and make it easier on a daily to daily basis. This place is amazing. They take care of you. We do have an open door policy with our manager to chat about issues we have, but sometimes maybe the follow through isn't quite as extensive as we would like it. But we've always been able to go in there and talk to them about anything and up the chain also. I just want to make that very clear to anyone who maybe took little bits the wrong way towards where we're standing at now, because this place is awesome. I like it a lot. Like, I wouldn't trade this place for any other place in the country. Now that we got that out of the way, unless you got something to add on this subject.
No, I think pretty much covered it.
Okay. Yeah. If anyone listened to the first one and thought, like, wow, no, that's not what we're talking about. There's things that can make daily life at this amazing place better. So if you hear this part, just know I'm talking to you. And our manager also doesn't wear high heels on the weekends. I just want to make that clear, just in case any of you heard any rumors. I just wanted to make that clear. Okay. So, Cody, Ian, I think today we decided we're going to talk about employee retention, new hires, and new young people getting into the industry.
There was one more topic.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Nope. About...
Did you know that Casey is our manager, by the way, if you don't know him? He eats cupcakes without frosting on them.
That's better.
What? He took a cupcake yesterday.
Yeah.
He wiped the frosting off and ate it.
Yes.
No
I don't
way.
like frosting.
No way. Okay.
Frosting makes me gag. Where did that note go?
Are you talking about the recruitment?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That'll tie into probably when we get to new hire stuff.
Yep.
Or young people coming into the industry.
And yeah, pathways.
Yeah. Pathways. So, we got a lot of good, positive feedback and things we need to change going forward. But I also didn't incorporate about maybe the management asking us questions to spread out to get answers that questions they have about us and the way we do things, and maybe we can make it easier on them. And one of those topics brought up was employee retention and hiring experienced techs, but why it's so hard to find quality ones. Well, employee retention here, as far as the shop goes, I would say if you compared us against probably the entire nation, I'd say we're pretty damn good.
Yeah, with techs, absolutely.
techs.
Yeah.
And even service riders.
Yeah.
Every service rider that is here, except for one, has been here since I started 7 years ago, and the other one's been here probably like 4 or 5.
Yeah, Ron started when he was my service rider when I went flat rate. So he started at like the same time. So he's been here almost 4 years.
Techs. We have one tech. This year's his 30-year anniversary. 2 techs just had their 20-year anniversary. And Dustin, how long has he been here? He's getting high up there. 16?
Yeah, he's got to be close to that.
16, and then, we got a couple more, we got a couple over 10. I think Brandon's over 10. I'm almost at Tyson, he's been here forever. We got a lot of techs that have been here a long time, and everyone else, like, we don't currently, our newest hire that is here, he's been here 3 or more.
2.5.
2.5, 3.
Yeah. Started
so
2020.
Tech retention here is great, and I think I would attribute it to probably just the way they treat us. We do get away with a lot of things, not in a bad sense, like, when we make mistakes, we're not harshly punished. We're allowed to fail and learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, it's hard to see the grass being greener anywhere else, but just based on my experience here, and from what I've heard from other people and how their experiences have gone at different dealerships or independent shops and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So, from my experience with other shops for employee retention, from where I was at other places that made me leave to eventually end up here, I would say be clear on what you want from us, and also what we want from you when you get hired. Because there's a lot of times where, even getting hired, they'll say, okay, you're new here, we're going to start you off at this rate, we'll see how you do for 6 months, and if you do good, then we'll send you to the moon. You'll work your way up, and a lot of the times, you hit that 6 months, you have that conversation, and then it doesn't end up happening. You're just like stuck, and maybe you don't have a good open door policy about communication. But that one's tough for employee retention because it's so good here, like real good. And the ones that come here that don't last long seems to be that they lied about their skill sets when they started. So they come in and they get very overwhelmed because they promised the moon when they started. They said they could do A to Z, and they couldn't. And it's not like they got fired. I don't think I've ever seen anyone get fired from here. They just leave because they just can't handle what they're given. And instead of, trying to like communicate and, work better, they just move on to the next one. They're just like, yeah, I'm done. Bye.
Yeah.
Lube Bay, we keep lube techs pretty well, but a lot of our lube techs want to move up to the shop. Some don't, and some do but don't convey that they want to, and so they get stuck there for quite a long time, and they end up just moving on again because of lack of communication. And all you got to do is go talk and develop a plan, or but
make your aspirations known.
But we keep most of our loop techs. Ian was a loop tech, he moved up. All our apprentices were here, started as loop techs, so they're all still here and they're all still working. And we've had some who've made it past tech to apprentice and realized they didn't want to do this, and then they moved on to something completely different. Most of ours that have left haven't left to do the same thing somewhere else. They just realized that the auto business wasn't for them and moved on. Service riders, like we said again, they've all been here forever. Porters, it's kind of an entry level position. And again, started as a porter, went to Lube, apprentice tech, but porters, we're kind of, porters is kind of attracting a younger crowd, entry level, and sometimes they seem to be a little less motivated to move up. And here our porters have a pretty simple life.
Yeah.
Very little is asked of them.
It's probably one of the easiest jobs I ever did.
But it's also hard finding people who are worth a damn, because it is an entry level position. Your job is to park cars. So I was just talking to my manager today, and we were supposed to have a new one start yesterday. And this porter, believe it or not, this kid who applied, he is a manager at Jiffy Lube currently, and he is, as a manager at Jiffy Lube, was making $16.50. And we offered him more than that to come and start here as a porter, and if he wanted to, work his way up. And he decided ultimately not to, just because of the going from a manager to porter factor, regardless of pay. And it's crazy. I couldn't believe when he told me Jiffy Lube was paying a manager $16.50 here. I think that blows my mind.
It's kind of surprising, but kind of not, based on kinds of comebacks and other things that we get from Jiffy Lube. Oil leaks.
True. Stripped oil pan, bolt drain plugs,
or tightening an oil filter.
Oh my god. Yeah. But I think to probably wrap up the employee retention problem, if you guys have situations, anyone who's listening that's outside of here, because we have already gotten a decent amount of people who don't work here have listened, and they've given us input, so we can revisit the employee retention. Let us know your issues, and then we can talk about them, and even let our managers and people here know the situations that you guys have, so then everyone can be aware, and then even we can prevent that from the future here, and then we can maybe get into more detail about the kind of things that keep people here, and more detail about the cool things that they do here, because that way we can explore that specific topic a little more. To move on to, which we kind of grasped, is quality new hires, hiring as experienced and not fresh. It's tough because anyone can go into an interview and say what you want them to hear.
Yeah.
What you want to hear as a manager. And we get that a lot.
And it takes, even just as a manager, it's going to take some experience in being a manager and having enough interviews to have a good BS detector, whether or not somebody is lying or not.
Yeah. I was talking to a general manager the other day, and he said one of the ways that he was able to kind of weed out a lot of the potential bad new hires is they got rid of technician sign-on hiring bonuses. He told me that once they got rid of technician sign-on bonuses, their pool for new hires when they have available positions went way down, but the ones that seemed to be in that spot actually ended up being better quality ones, because it actually turned out that the less quality new hires looking for jobs were actively seeking ones with bonuses, so they could come in and, even though most of the time the bonuses are spread out over a period of time, but the ones that were just here to work, wanted to get in at a place, they came in regardless of the bonus policy. And also, what he did say was, he said, if he's going to spend, let's say, $5,000 as a sign-on bonus, why would he give that sign-on bonus to a fresh new hire who has no idea what he can do and what kind of his long-term loyalty is going to be? He said, if he's going to spend that kind of money, they're going to give it to their techs that have been here for 5, 10, 20 years to reward them for the loyalty and service they've provided. And that actually helps with employee retention, one back, but then it also helps with new hires, because you say, hey, if I happen to either know this dealership or they have a reputation, if you come in, you do good, you work hard, and you stay loyal, they actually reward you for that above just, getting paid and raises. They reward long-term loyalty, which is, it's a good factor to play in. I'm not saying here, I don't think we have anything like that here, but it wouldn't sway me one way or another. But if they did do it, you'd be like, you know what, if I give my life and I dedicate it and I stay here and I stay good, I work hard, maybe one day I might get shown some appreciation. That's kind of a cool thing. Like I mentioned earlier, we do have a tech over there who really likes toast. He's having his 30-year anniversary. Maybe someone should buy him a watch, if you're listening, Casey. Like an old like 70s watch too, because that's still he's kind of still stuck in there. He listens to his music from his cell phone speaker in his front pocket. It's hilarious. Good guy.
Top Gun soundtrack.
Top Gun soundtrack. Yeah.
The first Top Gun.
I was actually this morning, I was here like real early, and I was listening to Yellow Wolf. Yeah. And he came in and he was like, who does this song? I can't remember what song it was. It was one of the good ones. I think it was maybe like Outer Space.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's pretty good. And I was like, really? I was like, you think that? And he was like, okay, cool. Old guys. How old is he?
I don't think he's 60 yet.
He's
late 50s.
But yeah, quality new hires. It's just about developing your BS detector and maybe really checking references. I know it's tough when someone's trying to leave a place to come to a better place. It's always tough to like call their previous or current manager and see what they're worth. I know they have actually done that here because they kind of liked him, but they felt something was off. And I remember,
well, really, they can only ask them, are they rehireable? That's the only question that a potential employer can ask a previous employer or current employer legally.
I didn't know that.
Now, whatever
Wikipedia
information comes down the grapevine is
we had
not.
We had one guy that I think was going to start here as a technician, and the hiring people, managers, one of them just felt something was a little off, so they did call references, and they found out like a couple days before he got in a huge fight in his shop and started beating the crap out of his tool cart in the middle of a shop with a baseball bat, like he was a little loose. I mean, sometimes, little extra help, but you got to develop that BS radar and see how it goes. Because, sometimes our BS radars failed here. You got people come in, they're like, I can do this, 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 and this. I've worked here. I have this many tools. I won't need anything. I'm just like set up and
ready to hit the ground running.
Ready to hit the ground running. I'm ready to come in and roll. I got experience. I know your computer. And then they come in day one and it's just a train wreck. And it's not like, they're not losing the ropes. And we're not talking about people. Everyone's got a learning curve and making friends and, but no, we're talking like purely skill level based faults on day one, not like, getting the hang of all the new people. Because, we always obviously have people who can do stuff that start fresh, but it takes a while to kind of like get into the group of guys. Because we're
create
pretty
relationships with your writer, and
yeah,
that takes
yeah,
time.
yeah. That's different than skill based, faults on day one. So I think, we're 23 minutes in. So I think the final and probably longest segment, we're going to talk about young, getting young people fresh in, new, to come up.
Yeah, who have aspirations to be in the business, or basically just be in the business.
Yeah.
And what it's like.
Number
different
one,
paths you can take.
Yeah. I think our number one failure for getting lube techs, our number one failure for getting quality apprentices that end up lasting to become technicians, because we have had some finally make it to the apprentice spot and then decide to go do something else. And I think the number one problem is we've hired apprentices that didn't want to be an automotive technician from the get-go. I can tell you right now, I wanted to go to UTI since I was like 8 years old, because that's where my dad went. And I remember always saying, I'm going to go to UTI. And then I came to high school and it was like, I want to go to UTI. And then I did good in automotive in high school. The UTI recruiters came in, the WyoTech recruiters. And I was like, nah, the UTI guys, that's where I want to go. But I wanted to do it from that young of an age. I always wanted to be a mechanic. That was my path. And some of the people that we do hire in Lube Tech, who are looking for a decent job, it wasn't even on their mind before they started as a Lube Tech. They might have started as a Lube Tech, started learning about vehicles a little bit, started doing a little bit of things, like batteries, and then they're like, well, maybe I could do this. And then they come into the apprentice side of it and start getting, into the thick of it. And then they're like,
we work our apprentices pretty hard.
We do. We cram some knowledge down our throat. But that is mainly because I would say almost all of our apprentices that we have hired since I've been here haven't come from trade school. They've come either from porter to lube tech to apprentice, or they've come from lube bay to apprentice. They didn't have any prior knowledge, at least schooling wise, before the apprenticeship part, which is a hands-on school in a sense. Ian didn't.
Yep.
He went straight. He was a porter in high school.
Yeah, I started here shortly after I turned 18, and I didn't know anybody here. Kind of picked here because we were open later, so I could get a decent enough amount of hours while I was still in school. And I kind of had the plan to go to UTI, but when I was actually interviewing here, our former service manager kind of talked how there was people here that didn't go to UTI that are very successful in the shop, and that I could kind of just learn on the job if this is what I really wanted to do. And so that's kind of, I thought about it for a while. I was kind of back and forth, and then I just decided to shoot my shot and try and show that I wanted to be an apprentice and that I could make it as a tech, and that's what I wanted. I was following up with our manager every couple weeks to see how the shop was doing, if it was feasible for me to get an apprentice and to become an apprentice. And eventually, after about 6 months of doing that, after I had already kind of established myself in lube bay, I became an apprentice, and I was an apprentice for less than a year before I was moved to be flat rate, and done pretty well.
From watching him from the first day he started, because when he started, I was already on night shift.
No, Bryce was still night
shift. It was
shift.
A little bit after that.
Yeah, so it was only a couple of months,
but
I think.
Watching him from the get-go, because he wanted to become a tech from the day he started. That was his current path at the time. And he's been one of the fastest that I've seen go from porter to lube bay to apprentice to tech. It was fast. Way faster than it took me going to UTI, and then I did about a year of at an independent shop before I was able to actually get an apprenticeship, because it was pretty hard at the time. But that was his path, and he made it very crystal clear that's what he wanted to do. He every day he worked his way and worked his ass off to get straight to an apprenticeship, and that showed. Whereas some nowadays, they don't show that kind of drive, so it takes some of them longer to finally hit the apprentice phase.
Yeah. As soon as, like, Lupe was slower then. So when, they were dead in Lupe, I'd go and come help you to see if you wanted help and could teach me something. And other loop techs would just sit around, play on their phones,
play hacky sack.
Just when we just dick around. And
a handful of years ago, about 6 years ago, when Ian was new, we were new into this big shop. We were in a smaller shop across the street, and so we were new over here. So basically, we were a smaller dealership in a big dealer building, and so we were building up the larger customer base. So there was times when Lupe was dead, like
2-3 hours dead.
Yeah, and most of them would play hacky sack, lounge around. The managers would come back and they would scramble and grab the brooms, so they wouldn't get caught. Because nobody ever gets yelled at when they have a broom in their hand. But Ian, he always came over, was like, what can I do? And I always gave him stuff to do. He did a lot of stuff as a loop tech. Granted, I was surprised he even made it to a loop tech, because it was like the first day he went to go help Lupe. He got permission to go help Lupe. He broke a loop tech's hand on a Camaro. It was so funny.
You can't fix stupid.
You?
No, him. Don't put your hand in between the lift and the car.
Yeah, but after that, things went pretty smooth. He was always helping me, always ready to move up, and then finally a spot opened up with our shop foreman, who's a world-class GM tech, and they put him right in, because he was just every day, just when, and he got it. So the thing is now is, if we want to get more new people in, and other dealerships and everybody else wants to get more new people in, and ones that'll last, is we need to actively recruit the kids who already want to do this. And we don't do that. We put our ads up, we go through Indeed, we do that.
Yeah.
But
like my generation, like that's like I didn't even know about, like I didn't use Indeed or Monster or whatever people use. I just only knew about this place because I drove by it.
Exactly. So, a message to, managers, GMs, anyone. Ian came up with a great idea for better recruiting, but we really need to start recruiting the kids who want this as their career path. And trust me, there's a huge group of kids who want this opportunity, especially the opportunity that we can give, whereas we could get them, how old were you when you went flat rate?
20.
Ian went flat rate at 20 years old without spending the kind of money it takes to go to UTI. You learn a lot of knowledge at UTI, but still, after UTI for me, I came in, graduated UTI, did real good at UTI, and then I realized I didn't know shit. It's still, because there's a lot to learn. We're always still learning every new technology. The stuff I learned at UTI is like, for me, I did UTI in 08 to 09. It's all Old Testament scribbled in stone, old stuff now compared to the stuff we have to learn now.
Yeah.
All the electronic, the EV stuff.
And it's not just in this field. Like I've heard, people that have got their degree in engineering, they go get a job as an engineer, and the first thing they do is unteach you what you learned in college because it's 20 years outdated at least.
Yeah. So, we think from our perspective, if our dealership and other dealerships want to get new hires, let's start going to high schools. Send a couple of techs like me and him. Go talk to the auto shop teacher. Maybe we can ask if we can talk to the class. It's coming on March. School year's almost over. How many of those kids are almost about to graduate? And we could go in and we could say UTI path, non-UTI path, and we could get
And
some
some
kids.
people might need that UTI anyways, just for the
Yes.
structure and
Yes, you
But
could. Someone
it's
they
not-
can also have the drive. Some
Yeah.
kids click to it like they just
Yeah.
click to it. They
But-
grasp everything. They already know a lot, but then they might need a UTI path. But we could even support that and say, hey, you go down to UTI, try your hardest to get an apprenticeship while you're working down there, while you're going through school, gain a little bit of knowledge, and when you graduate, you come talk to me. I've heard of some shops doing like a tuition reimbursement type deal, sponsorships. I know there is the GM ASEP program for GM. I know they do have it up at Weber State where we are. That's another path also, but that
Yep.
involves taking generals and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And it's a small portion of that is the automotive compared to generals, where at UTI, it's 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday for minimum year and a half, just crammed. So you do gain a lot of knowledge, or you can come here and you can get all that knowledge while you're working.
college isn't for everybody, and that's kind of the reverse of what I was taught in high school. That if you don't go to college, you're not going to be successful, which I don't believe. It's backwards to me, because even if I found like I want to go be a lawyer, I don't think I could do it simply because of the fact that I don't think I can handle college.
There's that show on TV where that guy didn't go to college, right?
Yeah.
What's that lawyer
Suits.
show? Suits.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
That guy's what's up. I see those clips on
Yeah.
on TikTok. Yeah. See, anything's possible, even the made up TV stuff. But yeah, I think if we hit a spot here where we need we need 2 good apprentices. We need 2 guys that we want to turn in to top quality techs. Let's go get them.
Yeah.
I talked to an employee of a Subaru dealership here in the Valley, and they get all of their apprentices from the local community college, every single one. They don't recruit them from Lube. They don't. Maybe they make them do Lube for a little bit just to begin. I'm not 100% sure. They said they get all of their apprentices from the community college. They have like a relationship with the community college automotive department, and they're like, "Okay, we're ready for another one." Boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
That's what they do. I don't know about that dealership's tech retention. The whole thing. Maybe I can get it into the hands. We do know at least one tech there. And maybe get the podcast into the hands of them. Maybe get some answers without saying other dealerships' names. But yeah, I think if you go after the people who want to do it, they end up being better.
Yeah, because they want to do it.
They want to do
If
it.
you want something, you're gonna work harder for it.
We had one tech in our shop who started as a lube tech. He made it to as an apprenticeship. He did an apprenticeship for, I think it was just a little over a year. Didn't quite have the drive as Ian. And I would say a little bit behind on the instinct and initial knowledge level, but was able to get up to that point. He was real, I would say, attentive, like all the little bolts, exactly where they need to be.
He was very, very
detail oriented, meticulous and detail oriented. Yes. But he's still a good friend of ours. But he ended up leaving after being a tech for a little while because it wasn't what he wanted to do from the get-go. He's in a totally different field, doing really well at this current point in time. Has nothing to do with automotive. Nothing.
Yep.
He doesn't even, I don't even think he holds a wrench in his hand. But that's the thing, is we put time, effort, dedication, time of, the tech who trained him over there, and it was well worth it. Obviously he made the dealership money, he made great relationships, but it didn't last because we were recruiting from a pool of people who didn't already want to do this job. There's auto shops in every high school. I just saw today on KSL that Bonneville High School just won the O'Reilly's and Wicks Award for the best auto shop program in the country.
Where's that school at?
Bonneville, somewhere around here. I don't know exactly where it is. It's in this valley. It's here, but they just won that award. I bet you there's a lot of seniors in there that would like us to go walk over there and offer them a pretty dang. Our loop techs start off pretty good, and we mentioned earlier that there was a lot of periods where our loop techs are standing around a lot in the past. No, they are.
They're workhorses now.
They're hourly / flat rate pay. I don't know exactly how it works, but they make good money, and they get hours. They get stuff done, and I don't. We haven't really sat down and talked with them yet, but as far as pay wise, I don't think any of them are unhappy. I think they're real happy, and they're always busy. We're talking 10 sets of keys backed up on the desk at one point every day because they're slammed. So, I don't know how many kids are in that auto shop program, but I bet you there's a handful that would love a visit from somebody. And I guarantee I'm not the only one who saw that ad. There might be some, real killers in there.
Yeah.
If they're doing, Skills USA or whatever, VICA or whatever they call it nowadays, I bet you there were some of them that did real good. And I bet you they're, the UTI and WyoTech recruiters, or even, Salt Lake Community College, scholarships, this whole thing. I'm sure a lot of them are getting a lot of these offers, and we have an opportunity to, maybe slip in and get some real quality kids who are already been trained by a great auto shop teacher. They have hands-on experience in the class. I saw in the article that they work on like teachers, principals' cars, and they do good work. And the teacher actually lets them do the work, and he just watches. That's why they're so successful. I think we have a pool of new recruits. And even if we're trying to relate to like the heavy duty industry, same thing. These automotive kids aren't used to working on like big trucks. They don't have big truck knowledge. I don't know what the training is like for schooling on big trucks. But if you want to get new apprentices in and start banging them out, go to these schools. Ask the auto shop teacher, who's your guy? Who's the one?
When I was going my senior year in auto shop, we took a tour of Wheeler Cat, CR England, and I think Cummins, the Cummins shop. Why not do tours of normal dealerships where your heaviest trucks are? You might get a medium duty every once in a while, but it's not. If you want to go be a heavy line diesel tech, you can go do that.
Yeah, I have a friend on from high school who we're still friends on Facebook. We haven't obviously really like talked or even seen each other for a long time, but I think he did some independent stuff for a little bit, and then he ended up going to Kenworth here in the Valley. He's been there a long time, and it seems like they like it. And if heavy line guys, go get these young guys, train them up, help them, get started. I don't know what kind of tools are essential, like basic tools in the heavy line industry.
Just bigger than what we have, probably.
Let's get them in there. Like, let's say maybe as a heavy line dealership, make some apprentice starter kits for your apprentices to already have when they start, and then they can start accumulating their own and then work away from the starter kit. That can go to the next one.
Yeah.
If they come in as an apprentice and they need to do basic stuff, let's have the stuff for them ready to go. And that maybe might help motivate them.
We have some starter kits for apprentices, but it's owned by the dealership.
Yeah, owned by the dealership.
And if they lose it or break anything, it's their responsibility to replace or fix it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that way they come in day one, they got a small set of, the essential heavy line, or, we don't have quite that big of a problem because, our tools, obviously are expensive, but you could start building a collection pretty quickly.
Yeah.
If you're smart about it. And luckily, you know, like me, like I've made a ton of mistakes financially in my past. I've been real dumb, and I've been able to kind of relay that to some of the younger guys. And Ian's got a big full toolbox full of tools with very little debt. And because he worked his way up over time, didn't, you know, overwhelm himself, didn't go crazy.
Got to borrow a tool, make a list of it, buy it when the next opportunity you can, and afford it.
He didn't buy a, you know, $30,000 toolbox with no tools in it. You know, that's a common mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we want young guys to come in and we want young guys to last and we want to turn them into people like us, let's go after the ones that want to do it. We've been going for longer than last time. We got rolling.
Yeah.
I
think we're
pretty good.
Yeah.
We got a lot of input last video. Hope to get some more this one. I did a lot of discussion with a couple of managers and a lot with my manager about some of the things we talked about last time for, you know, workflow, hours, you know, and I've gained a lot of knowledge, and we got a couple things possibly in the work for doing a little experiment to improve for a few of us in the shop who aren't at the goals we want to reach. We have something that we're going to talk about, and we're maybe set up a plan to run some sort of experiment to see if we can maybe fix some of these little things I'm having that I think that are holding me back and creating some of my frustrations with reaching my hour goals. So we're going to work on that. And once we do it, we'll do another episode on that with what the issues were, what his impression was on it, and what we did to figure out what, who, why, and see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll do a whole nother thing on that. We had another topic we wanted to talk about. We missed. We'll revisit it. What was it? It was UTI, and then you said recruiting, and then you said one more thing we were going to talk about.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. We just came up with it not that long ago, but it'll probably hit us, and we'll talk about it next time.
Yeah.
I'll try to be a little funnier. I want to bring a little more humor, have a couple people laugh, try to stick people towards the end. And if they don't, they obviously won't hear this part, so it doesn't really matter anyway. But, you know, I'd like to be able to joke around a little bit. I'd like to be able to do this and have a little fun. And, you know, anyone who's listening, especially our manager, we are 100% open to hearing your opinion and seeing if we are wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see if we're wrong. If we happen to be wrong, let's have a discussion why, and then we'll revisit it so we can let everyone else know, maybe we're wrong. You know, we were wrong, or maybe we were right. Maybe we helped him see the light. Maybe he helped us see the light. That's the whole point of this. So don't be like, you know, those guys are dumb. They got that all wrong. Let us know so then we can revisit it. And then that's the whole point, is we would like some answers to things that we don't know. You guys want answers to things you don't know, and we can all figure some stuff out. Does everyone, let me know, do you guys all listening have a butt crack guy at your shop? The one guy, the one butt crack guy, let me know. But and also, if you're listening, help us come up with a name. We're still trying to think up with something clever that might hook, or else we'll just have to leave it at Auto Tech Guys.